In this video, you're going to be building Netflix Web 3.0 dApp using NextJS and Thirdweb. Now, we're going to be using Thirdweb, and you're going to learn how to NFT gate an application using the Ethereum blockchain and all these blockchain technologies. So with that said, let's just jump straight into the build.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, time to get started with the build. So as usual, we're going to go ahead and type in and get started with our custom build CLI tool. So just pop in your name and email in the opposite order, and then all you gotta do is start typing Netflix. This is the only Netflix builds. Let's go ahead and get started with it. Now, straight away, it will direct you to Thirdweb. Now over here on Thirdweb, we're just gonna straight away dive into setting the project up. Don't even have to wait for our CLI tool to finish. It's gonna do its thing, but we're gonna go ahead and get started creating an edition drop. That is going to be the foundation of our NFT gating for this project. So let's go ahead and use that. And I'm just going to type in Netflix or something like that, and whatever symbol you want to pop in there. Here you can add the description if you want to, but you don't have to. And what I like about what I really like about our CLI tool is it actually super efficient. And if you go into our project folder, you will have already the files that are currently being installed. And in the meantime, our CLI tool finished, but if it haven't finished yet, you will already have access to most of these files. Now in here, you have this nlogo.png. That's what we're going to be using as our logo for the NFT drop itself. So I'll just pull it in there. It's going to be uploaded and you're pretty much good to go. You don't have to mess with anything else. All you want to make sure is that you are on the Gurley network. So you want to set that here. And you also want to make sure your MetaMask wallet is on the Gurley test network and you have some ETH funds available. So let's go ahead, hit deploy right now. And as your MetaMask pops open, just go ahead, hit confirm, you're good to go. And also, Thirdweb just secured a $24 million funding. That's pretty clutch. Now, once you can see that little success sign and everything is gonna start loading, that's when you know your NFT project has just got deployed. It was that easy. It's done. You didn't even have to write a single line of code. Now, straight away, let's jump into our NFTs page. And what we'll do here is we'll just mint one single NFT. And because this NFT is compliant with the ERC 1155 standard, that means that one NFT can have multiple owners and multiple people can claim that one NFT. So that is what we are going to be using as our gateway and as our access token and access pass to our Netflix app. So let's go ahead, hit single upload. And once again, I'm just going to go ahead and open up my Finder window right here. Let's make it a little smaller. And here's your nft.gif file. Now this is a custom made by us animation, whatever GIF. We think it looks pretty cool, so we're just gonna use this, but feel free to use whatever you want. We just think it's cool. Anyways, I'm going to name this Netflix Access Pass or Premium Access, because that sounds better. Let's be real. Once again, you can add the description, but you don't have to. No need to add any kind of properties. No need to mess with any of this metadata. Don't worry about it. Just hit lazy mint. We're lazy around here. No rush, nothing crazy. So let's wait for that. And there you go. My MetaMask just opened and I'm gonna hit confirm. It's gonna still take a little bit of a time to mint it. You can go ahead, speed it up if you want to, and then just wait for it. Now there you go. It has just finished minting, as you can see it already here. Now it's still going to load a little, gonna fetch it. And once you see this little success sign and the side window is gonna go away, you will have your NFT right over here. That's it. You just minted it. Now, few more things we will set up and then we'll jump straight into VS Code, which by the way, just got opened by the CLI tool once again. So let's go ahead, hit that guy. And what you want to go for is the claim condition. So if you don't know how that comes up, once again, just want to click this right here. That page will open up, hit claim conditions, and it says no claim phases set. So let's go ahead and add one. No need to worry about this phase stars. Just want to make sure that this timestamp is actually later than or earlier than or equal to your current time, because up until this timestamp, you will not be able to claim any NFTs and you will not be able to use the app. So what you want to do is leave most of these on default. The only two things that we're going to be changing are these two. So first off, this one will be 1, and the second one is going to be unlimited. And then the second one is going to be 1 as well. Now, I just want to double check that everything is correct over here. So let's go through everything. How many NFTs will you drop in this phase? Unlimited. That is perfect. That means unlimited amount of users will be able to claim your NFTs. Second one, how much do you for the NFT? Now, you can choose between either 0 for just saving your NFT, but I'm just going to go with 0.1. Literally, you can go with whatever. Just you want to make sure that you will have enough funds to mint a couple of NFTs, because we're going to mint and burn a few NFTs throughout this build. So feel free to just go with 1, 0. You also want to make sure the currency is Ethereum. However, you are given the option to do anything. And you can also use custom currency. Also, who can claim the NFT during this phase? For now, we're just going to go with any wallet. You can also put a couple of wallets on an allow list, upload it here, and then use that, and then have a private have a private list of a couple of wallets. And then it's still trying to save it, so I'm just going to hit this guy. That will pop open my MetaMask, and then I'm going to go ahead confirm this transaction. If you mess something up, no worries, don't worry about it. You will be able to alter it later on. Just take a mental screenshot of this and just make sure for now, all these configurations are matching your configuration. So let's just wait for it. Just wait for this transaction to go through, and let's see what we got afterwards. And there you go. It says claim phase or saved claim phases, whatever. You can go ahead, close this, and let's go finally into our VS Code. I'm going to go ahead, full screen this bad boy, and open up my terminal. Let's see what we got here. So what I like to do is just have 2 terminals open just in case. First one, what I'm going to do with is I already have my node modules installed. So if you don't, you can just run yarn and then we'll take care of that. But the CLI tool should have done it already. Second, I'm just going to say yarn dev, and that will spin up my next app. So that should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new page in my Chrome, paste that guy right there. And there it is. There's my Netflix app, kind of. So let's go ahead and enable this. So now is the time that we actually gonna go ahead and start implementing everything. You have all the code prepared for your convenience. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's actually go ahead and zoom in a little bit over here, make things nice and big. That's what she said all the time. So I'm going to go into my app.js file, and this is where actually we're going to get started with everything. Without this, not a lot of things are going to work. So you want to make sure that you will use Thirdweb's own context provider, whatever. So what we're going to say is we're going to import chain ID first, and then we're going to go ahead and import Thirdweb provider from Thirdweb. Whoa. Thirdweb-dev/React. So that is our package. And we're going to go ahead and wrap that around our application. So we're going to go ahead and say Thirdweb provider, like that. go chain ID, and instead of Rinkaby, as Copilot suggested, we're gonna go with girly, like that. And there's my auto close tag kicking in. And there you go. This is how it should look like. So you want the Thirdweb provider to completely wrap around everything, even the app provider which we have given to you for your convenience. Everything should be inside the Thirdweb provider. That will ensure that even your context will have access to all these things. So talking about context, we want to make sure that everything will be updated as soon as you connect your wallet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and import one thing from, again, Thirdweb. We're going to say use address, and we're going to import it from the same package, just like that. And while we're at it, we'll use that exact same thing that we just imported to extract our wallet address that will connect to the application right here. And then we're going to go ahead and update this use state right here with the help of a use effect hook. So you can use the use effect snippet right there. And whenever address changes, what I want to do is set the user address, paste it right here, and then put to whatever the address is. That will make sure that whenever I disconnect my application, whenever I disconnect my MetaMask from my app, it will throw me right back onto the login screen, and vice versa. On the login screen, it will throw me back to the app. So let's go ahead, test that out. So let's actually test that. So as you can see, I have the button already set up, but no matter how hard I'm clicking it, nothing seems to be happening. And you bet I'm clicking it hard. So yeah, it doesn't work yet. The reason is we have to go into our login.js file and actually import one more thing that is ridiculously easy. And I've said it a couple times, but I'm still outraged how super easy it is to do everything with Thirdweb, like for real. I feel like I'm useless. So what I'm going to do is use this use MetaMask that I just imported, again from the same library. So use MetaMask, say that 5 times fast, and actually remove everything after this guy. So there you go. That is how you want to set up your function, and you're good. That should, in theory, enable everything. So just so everything is refreshed, I'm going to go ahead, refresh my app, and go ahead, connect that wallet. And this is what you will see. This is what you will see because you do not have access to your, you do not have this NFT just yet in your wallet. Let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so let's actually go ahead and now claim those NFTs and then redirect the user based on whether they have the NFTs or do not. Let's see what do we got when we connect our MetaMask here. So that should technically redirect us to this page. So that's working perfectly. No errors there. All right, so we're going to be building on top of this prepared claim NFT function that we got right over here. But before we do that, we'll actually need a helper function. So let's create a new file inside of utils, and it will be create sdk.js. Now, all right, so inside of here, let's actually go ahead and import Thirdweb SDK from thirdweb-tab/SDK. We don't use no semicolons in here. And you also want to go ahead and import ethers from ethers. Duh. Now we're gonna export const the create SDK function that I was talking about earlier. And it doesn't have to be async no matter how much Copilot wants it to be. And we're gonna go ahead and create two variables here. The first is going to be provider, and that'll basically just go ahead and grab the Ethereum code snippet that MetaMask injects into your window, and that will generate the provider for us. So we're going to say ethers.providers.web3provider like that, and then pass in window.ethereum. And the second one is going to be signer, which is going to be the provider.get signer, and that will be a function as far as I know, and maybe get rid of all the typos because that's usually helpful. And then with those, and then using that signer that we just created, we're actually going to generate the SDK. So Thirdweb SDK.from signer, like that. Pass in signer, because that's helpful, and then pass in girly, just to specify which network are we talking about. And return SDK. That's it. That's going to be your helper function. Just double check it, no errors. Cool. Now, inside this very little beautiful use effect that we have right over here, every single time somebody updates their wallet or disconnects or whatever, we're going to run this just for fun. So what we're going to do is we'll double check that this Ethereum object that is being passed, object that is being passed in from MetaMask to our window actually exists, and if it doesn't, we will return it immediately. However, it would be helpful if we destructured it from the window first. So let's actually do that like that. So that two works together, and in this and only this order. If you do it the other way around, you will see errors. You can try it, but just trust me on that. Now we're gonna go ahead and get started with. We're gonna make this use effect async, and what I mean by that is we're just gonna have a self-executing function in here, because, and once again, you can try it. Just trust me, it's not gonna work. Use effects are not async, so don't even worry about that. So async function, fire that guy off, and then open close parens, because that's how it likes to be. Now inside of here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna import that SDK file or that SDK thingy that we just generated. So create SDK like that, and that should in theory import it on the top. So if it didn't like autocomplete it for you right there, now is your call to action to do so. Next up, using that SDK, we're going to generate the contract instance. So we're going to say await, because for whatever reason this returns a promise and it doesn't make sense, but that's what it does. So promise or await SDK.get addition drop, open close parens, and then you're going to pass in process.environment.next_public_contract address, like that. All right, now that we got that contract instance, we actually going to go ahead and save it inside of our use state that we have just for this. So let's go ahead and actually take a look at what we got. So in the browser, I'm going to go ahead console log, and not with a capital because that apparently doesn't work. So I'm going to go ahead and double check that. And if you see something like, let me zoom in. If you see something like this, good job. And just to make sure that everything is good to go, you can also console log the SDK. Which one is that? Oh, and if you look for Thirdweb SDK right here, and then open that guy, and then check signer, and it says is signer true, you know you're good. If you cannot verify that the signer is true, you might as well start debugging right now why it's not happening. Once again, this is the contract. This is exactly the part where we are generating everything. That signer has to be there. If it's not there, errors. All right. So save yourself the headache. Figure it out now. And also, might as well, let's just get rid of this line because that doesn't have to do anything there. So now that we have the contract instance initialized, we can finally get started and build out this claim NFT function. So what do we got here? Basically, before we do anything, we want to make sure that the contract instance exists and the user is signed in. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to have a second parentheses in here, and we're going to say contract instance like that, and user address. And I'm a super big fan of guard clauses, so we're going to negate this whole thing and then put a return behind it. Okay, let me explain. Contract instance, user address. Both of them has to exist. If none of them exist, you can see how these are like both falsy values. So if you put a boolean around it and console log it, you will see false. Now, when this resolves to true and this resolves to true, then both of these are going to resolve to true. If any of them don't exist, this whole end-end situation is going to return a false. Now, if this whole thing returns true, and then you put an exclamation point in front of it, it's going to be false. Which, if this whole thing is going to return true, meaning the meaning the inner one is true, which then turns into false, and that is actually false, which will make the entire if statement true, then it will return. Point is, contract instance and the user address has to exist, otherwise this will return. This will not run. Just take a second, understand what is written over here. Your future self and technical interviews will thank you for it. And once that guard clause is passed, you will have an await here, and then you will use the contract instance like that and say claim, and then pass in 0 and 1. What's happening there, you ask? So 0 is the token ID. Let me actually show you that. So if we go into NFTs right here and actually zoom in, you can see the token IDs right there, right? And then this is going to be the amount. And I believe there's some sort of documentation around that, but for now, just believe me, that's what it is. Actually, there's a code snippet right here, which is like pretty similar, but not the exact same. And I found that sometimes it has like clunky features, but basically that's what you pass in here as well. The only difference is we're not passing an address because it is going to be the message sender that will be passed in as the address under the hood. So that's what we got going on here. In theory, that should already be working, but we're not going to know this unless we check the balance, meaning we check that the user that is currently logged in actually has a NFT. So let's actually do that before we go any further. Now, we're going to use the exact same guard clause because this function will be running multiple times around here. And what I'm going to do here is just place these two comments here, and let me show you some cool stuff. So if you search for balance on this code page, and then actually find this get NFT balance right here, this is what we got here. You can go ahead, copy this whole thing, and paste it right here, like that. And then instead of wallet address, what we're gonna say is user address, which is the wallet address in this case. And then token ID, remember it's gonna be 0. And I just saved you some headache. And this is what I'm saying when I say Thirdweb is making everything outrageously easy. So there you go. Now, you will have to kick this check balance every single time you load this app. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a second use effect over here, like so. And instead of user address, as suggested by Mr. Copilot, we're going to go for contract instance here in the dependency array. And we're just going to go ahead and say get balance. Is it get balance? What is it? Check balance. So we're going to fire the check balance function off, and something was imported here. Don't worry about that. That was just a mistake on my end. So let's revise what we just done here. We created the create SDK helper function basically takes everything MetaMask has to offer, and then we're going to use that and generate the Thirdweb SDK, which will grant Thirdweb the writer access to your wallet. That means that Thirdweb will be able to execute transaction on your behalf. Once we're back here in the context, we're going to use that and generate a contract instance so that everything is going to be fast and everything, and we're not going to take too much time wasting all that. We're not going to take too much time setting everything up because we have everything ready to go. Now, once that contract instance and the user address, meaning the user is logged in, exists, we're going to go ahead and claim using the Thirdweb SDK, claim an NFT, and then double check whether the user has it or not. So in theory, we should be ready to go. Okay. Let's see what we got here is error. It says contract is not defined. Oh, that's probably because here we are trying to use contract instead of contract instance. Yeah, that could be helpful if we use the correct terminology there. Now, let's see if I hit this, what will happen. Okay, so there you go. The claim actually showed up in my MetaMask because I couldn't wait, so I opened it up. But it should technically pop your MetaMask open. And once you hit confirm, just wait for it to go through. And you should, in theory, have this beautiful NFT in the background. Enjoy. And as you can see, it just finished claiming. So in theory, if I refresh this, nothing happens. That's perfect. So the reason why nothing happens is nothing is telling index.js to render out main over here. Because if we console log user NFT or user has an FT, which actually makes that whole shift happen, it will actually return false. And the reason for that is we never changed it from its original or like initial value. Now, the way we're going to do that is we're going to go ahead and take this, because this will return something. We don't need to care about what it returns. But what we're going to look for is whether it is more than 0 or not. Now, and also we don't care about the number itself. We just need to understand whether if it's true or not. So we're going to use the Boolean function method over here. We're gonna call a Boolean on that to decide whether we have more or equal to 0 NFTs like that. And once we got that resolved, we're just going to set that as the user has NFT. And at that point, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You just NFT gated your Netflix. So if that went through and now you see this, what you can see on my screen, congratulations, you just NFT gated your Netflix. So next up, let's go ahead and make this work because there's some crazy stuff going on here. And once we're done with that, we're going to go ahead, cancel our memberships because that should be an option. And with that, our app is going to be done. All right, now, as I promised, this kind of doesn't really work. And that's actually a super simple fix. So what I'm going to show you is something called TMDB, or you can just go for themoviedb.org. So if you search on Google for TMDB and then like literally click the first option, that is going to take you right here to themoviedb.org. And then you can go ahead and create a new account, username, password, and email. That's all it requires. But I already have mine. So I'm just going to go ahead, sign in here with a password. And then once you're in, it's literally all I use it for. There's your profile image. So click that and then go into settings right there. And then, by the way, yours might look a little different. Yeah, so this is how it's going to look like on your end because I have this dark mode app installed. Anyways, turn it off. So go ahead, click API right there. And then this is going to be your API key. Now, don't use mine. It's not for you. Editor, blur it. Anyways, copy that. And then we can go over into our env file. And then in here, we're just gonna go ahead and say next underscore public underscore TMDB API key or whatever, and then paste it right there. Now, once you're done with that, go into your utils and endpoints file, and then these two should actually link up, but you'll need to restart your app. So what we're gonna do is bring over the terminal and then restart this app, and whatever that's spitting all that false there, I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of it. So wherever there's console log, you guys know how I always remove it. So we don't need that, thank you. And as you can see right over here, it is actually reading from the env file. And if you go back to your Chrome, everything is loading up. So that looks perfect. And now the only thing left is canceling our membership. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, the final stretch, the last function. Canceling that membership because you realize you don't have time to watch Netflix like any normie. You have stuff to do. You gotta get a job at Google, and that's busy work. So let's go ahead and cancel that membership. No one needs to watch Netflix. They gotta go bankrupt. They are just living off of investor money. So that's not helpful for society. Anyways, what you wanna do is go right here onto line 47 or whatever line it is in your file, because you probably indent differently than I do. And basically what you will do is have a guard clause for contract instance. So return if contract instance doesn't exist. And then you're just gonna wait contract instance, and we're going to literally burn the NFT. Kind of how... I'm not gonna make that joke. And we're going to burn the NFT. So what you were gonna do is we're gonna say burn tokens, and we're gonna go ahead and pass in 0 as for token ID and 1 as in one like quantity. So one piece of the NFT. It became awkward. Don't worry about it. So that's pretty much it. Now I just want to make sure that we have it connected in our header. So go into your home and header, and we should technically have this on click. So if you see this right here, that should be good to go. The CI should have already done it, but just double check for safety. And let's see what do we got. So I'm just gonna go ahead and refresh this guy. Yep, it loads up, nice. And then I'm gonna go ahead, hit cancel. Okay, my MetaMask has popped up, that's a good sign. Hit confirm. And now let's wait for good old Gurley to execute our transaction. All right, as you can see, it's already burnt down. The only thing left of it is are ashes. So let's refresh. And there you go. Now you're thrown back outside of the gate, and you can go ahead and now crush your journey as a developer and go to Google, work for a ton of money, and live your life however you want to. So basically that was the build. Thank you so much for joining along. I hope you liked it. If you did, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and do all kinds of stuff that helps us with the YouTube algorithm, because that's good. Thank you for coming. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!